Welcome to ACC Nation, featuring sports news and special guest interviews. Here's Will Ojanen and Jim Quist.
Welcome to ACC Nation. That's Will Ojanen. I'm Jim Quist. And regular season football is over. And now it's the ACC championship game in Charlotte. And it's not who you might have expected at the beginning of the season. Not by far. In fact, up until a week or two ago, it's not exactly who you thought it was going to be. Well, doggies. Sure. Clemson.
Yeah.
How did that happen? How did they sneak in there? Pesky little boogers, aren't they?
You know, it's funny, we think Clemson's on this downturn, and to some extent they are.
Yeah.
And we're like, Dabo, use the portal to your advantage, go fill your holes. And he's like, no. He's stuck in his ways. And this is exactly why he's not going to use the portal.
Yeah. Hey,
he sees in his eyes, he's doing just fine. He just made another ACC championship game. Why, in his eyes, why the hell should he?
If he gets stomped in this game and really shown up.
Maybe, but really it's going to take a year of like a 7-5, 6-6 season for him to really start thinking about it. But
his team.
That's his thing. He's not going to change until he's in trouble. And he ain't in trouble.
It's literally too late. When you're in trouble, it's too late unless you have an administration and an AD that is like, old boy's done pretty good by us so far. We'll give him another shot. But if you dig a hole deep enough, you will bury yourself. So just saying. And all the Clemson fans are out there going, bite one. We're in the championship game. Yep. Look. What do you guys know?
And we'll get into it more another time, but we have a real shot of getting back into the playoff again.
God, not like this.
And this is there are some good parts to this Clemson team, but there are some flaws as well.
Yeah.
Might have been fixed by the portal, but that's neither here nor there.
That's right. This isn't the Clemson. This isn't your daddy's Clemson.
Or this isn't your older brother's Clemson, really.
Maybe that's a better way of putting it, because your daddy's Clemson won all that. Okay.
Well, daddy's Clemson, if he grew up in if he's around my age, Clemson was still a pretty solid football team in the 80s and late 80s, early 90s. Not a national title contender like they were a decade ago.
Yeah.
But still a really strong football team.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's take a look at these games. Stanford, you absolutely disappointed us. Come on, man. Really? Really? Your last game of the season, and you had to go pull this stunt? And now people are in the transfer portal? You lost by 3, San Jose State. Now, you pointed out, rightfully so, San Jose State probably was going to give them a lot of problems. And this isn't your daddy's San Jose State. Of course, it's not your brother's either, but that's besides the point. But final score there, 34-31. Cardinal, man, come on. Your final game of the season, and you let us down.
Well, think about San Jose State. Let me just, as an aside, why I thought they were a real player in this game. They had the number one receiver in the country in terms of yards and catches. His name is Nick Nash. He finished with 104 catches, 1,382 yards, and 16 touchdowns.
And that was just in this game.
They also had another guy who finished in the top 25 in yards. He finished like 27 yards short of 1,000. And remember, their coach is Ken Niumatalolo, the former Navy coach who was all about the option at his spot. And obviously, his offense is a complete 180 at San Jose State. And they are a good football team. That's why I say not to sleep on them.
No.
But as far as Clemson is still on the Clemson
We're
thing.
still
But as
back
far
there.
as Stanford goes,
Yes.
and we've been saying this, they've got pieces, but they're still a year or two away.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got good receivers, Alec Aomanor, Emmett Mosley, both really good receivers. They combined 17 catches for 210 yards in this game. We know they're good. Ashton Daniels, his thing is he needs to be more consistent as a passer. And he's a good runner. He ran for 91 yards in this game, threw for 250, but he also threw 3 interceptions. And that's not going to cut it.
Didn't he go into the transfer portal today?
Not that I saw. I know they had a starting tackle that went into the portal.
Somebody went in.
I know one of their I think their starting tackle went into the portal. I don't know about him.
Yeah, we'll take a look. We can't keep up with everything. There's so much stuff going on between transfer portal and surprising people who are leaving and going on to other teams, coming off of teams that have been fairly successful, who are growing, just decided that we're going on to another team.
Mm-hmm. And
that's the nature of the animal these days.
Yep.
So.
But yeah, Stanford 3-9. We kind of thought that was probably going to be the case for them this year. Again, this is Stanford's one of those schools with their academic restrictions. There's only going to be so much of a ceiling for them, and I don't think they're the type. I don't know how serious they are about it. I mean, if you're going to compete in this landscape, you probably have to lower your academic restrictions some. That's how Colorado was able to come this close to the Big 12 title games. They lowered their academic standards and they were able to get Shedeur Sanders
Are
and
you
Travis
saying
Hunter.
there's nothing but stupid players on that team?
No, but if you want to improve, you're going to have to make it so better ones who maybe aren't quite as smart get in.
You see, and this is just for football, folks.
Yeah.
Or sometimes basketball, because I know that was the case. Because I have somebody personally who can attest to a certain player at UVA who probably should have been taking Basket Weave 101. Anyway, let's Stanford next year. Okay. Looking forward to something better, bigger, better. And, hope that you guys hit the transfer portal and make the best use of it. You have something there, build on it and go to the future. And I think, as you have pointed out, Will, probably a couple years, maybe before that actually transpires. And, a lot of reasons. One of them is academic standards it's a lot tougher. But I will also say that it's not easy to get into Georgia Tech either. It's not as if, they got empty brains running around the field. Now, in this next game, which happens to include Georgia Tech and Georgia, let me just say, refs again, there were some of the most blatant no calls. I mean, one instance, the ref even got taken out. I mean, it was the most obvious thing in the world. I could go on and on. I won't, because I'm not going to belabor this, but honest to God, the refs this year have been worse than I've ever seen them. And you guys and women don't get a damn break. You really ought to be taken to measure over the crap product that you're putting on the field and what you're doing in these games. You're horrible. You're just damned horrible. Now, not everybody is, but there's enough bad apples in there. Somebody needs to empty the damn bushel Get rid of the bad apples and start pulling people in who actually know how to ref and who give a damn. Final score here, 8 overtimes. 8 overtimes, and this team still moved up a notch in the damned AP Top 25. Useless as hell rankings. Georgia 44, Georgia Tech 42. I've got to say, it was a hell of a game. And I stayed up until the last possible moment, even though I was getting up like 4 hours later to travel home.
I want to say that these were actually SEC refs in this game, which only, aids in the conspiracy, I guess you could say, that there might be out there. But this game as a whole was sponsored by the Asterisk.
God.
And aside from the questionable calls and whatnot, I'm reminded how much I hate these overtime rules.
Oh, they're stupid. They're stupid. Now, honest to God, this is some of the stupidest crap that I've ever seen. I mean, the original reason why we went to this at the time, maybe it made sense, but honest to God, you look at it now and all the games that have been played into multiple overtimes like this. Why are we doing this? I mean, it's stupid.
I know. I hate it, but
prove me wrong.
Yeah. But again, you want a true definition of a player who left it all out on the field? That would be Haynes King.
Yes.
I watched that game and I'm like, this dude is like trying, doesn't begin to describe the effort he put in. He literally like blood, sweat, tears, everything, like times 2. He was out there for trying to will the Yellow Jackets to that win, and unfortunately, it just came up a little bit short. But 303 yards passing and 110 yards rushing. Wow! And
against Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was just an amazing effort. And he finally looked like himself for the first time in quite some time. As long as he stays healthy, and just look at this, we're gonna look at just kind of looking ahead here. Look out for the Yellow Jackets in 2025. I'm saying if they can retain Buster Faulkner, the offensive coordinator, for example, their defense. Remember, the defense last year was absolutely putrid. They're like 5th in the ACC in yards per game, and they're better. And I think a lot of some of their key cogs return. I mean, I'm already looking at the Yellow Jackets as a dark horse for 2025. If they can keep the key pieces and then bring in some new ones, they have a favorable, I think, with the way that the culture that Brinky has. I think this is very much a team to watch next year.
Heart and soul. This team, going from the coaches on down through the players, the fans are behind them, heart and soul, and you got to love them. You can be a fan of any other team, but by God, this team is what football should be. This performance that they have put on this season, and I will go so far as to say I'm going to draw a line through and scratch dark horse. I've got them in the top 3 for next year already, just at this point. Now, I do have an argument that basically says you do not rank or presume teams to be what they were the year prior.
Yeah. See Virginia Tech.
Yes. Yeah.
It's impossible. We're recording this on December 2nd. It is impossible to know what these teams are going to look like when they kick off in September. I mean, the transfer portal's about to open up. I don't one of their Zach Pyron. He's in the portal.
Mm-hmm.
He was going down the depth chart because of of Haynes King and then the freshman Philo. He kind of got relegated down the depth chart and he entered the portal, which makes total sense because he wasn't going to get a shot.
Yeah.
And that's fair. That's his right to do so. And yeah, but anyways, yeah, and I just really like what this team has.
Oh, good things going on there. On Saturday, I listened to this game on Sirius XM and was, man, was just absolutely screaming and yelling in the car, which made for some pleasant riding with me. Louisville 41, Kentucky 14. I so thank you, Louisville, for smacking them the way you did this season. You deserve that win. And I hope from here on out that you just run roughshod over them. So
I know I kind of felt bad. I should have reached out to our friend Jeremy after the game just to kind of see what he was thinking. Saturday was kind of a busy day for me as well. I didn't get a chance to do it, but yeah, this game was pretty much over from the start. Louisville led 20-0 at halftime, outgained Kentucky 256 to 107. The Cardinals ran for 358 yards. This is a team that's more of a pass first team. But hey, look what they did. They found a weakness in Kentucky's defense and exploited the living hell out of it. I mean, Isaac Brown had a career high 178 yards as a freshman, ended up with 1,000 yards. Don't see that much from freshmen. I mean, in their backup, Duke Watson had 104 yards on 6 carries. Like that's all they needed to do. Just run the hell out of the football and just it was the game was I mean, you said the final score, there wasn't even that close. I mean, Louisville just thoroughly dominated them.
yeah. The only thing that I negative that I have to say about Kentucky, I love the state. I love and to be quite honest about it, is as much as I don't like the SEC for the most part, and really there's some aspects of Kentucky I don't like. I do respect a lot of their sports programs, you know. So, but I will say this about Kentucky, the state of Kentucky. For God's sakes, people, get off your cell phones and pay attention when you're driving 80 plus miles an hour on your interstates instead of two car. Well, I can't tell you how many vehicles I saw try to merge into the center lane at the same time and just barely miss each other. In fact, I'm not 100% sure about this, but in one instance, the one car that swerved over to the left, I think, bumped the guy in front of him. And it was a love tap, so there's really no sense in them stopping. But that I don't think I've ever seen quite as crazy a drivers as I saw in Kentucky as I did over the Thanksgiving weekend. You were right up there with South Carolina drivers, and Boston drivers.
Oh, what? Sorry, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
That's an audio gag.
uh-huh.
But the mass holes, as they are called.
Yes, assholes.
Mm-hmm. I didn't think they're. Yet mass holes they're more impatient than they were in my experience dealing with.
When you were there, I mean, because you've been recently,
A year ago, yeah.
Were they horn happy?
Story time.
Okay,
So
let's hear it.
This is kind of one day when we were there, my wife and I had left Fenway Park. we're driving over to, we had a tour of this, we were going over to the Sam Adams Brewery to do a tour there, and we got stuck on a one-way street there, and we got stuck behind a garbage truck. It's a one-way street, and they're doing garbage. We're stuck. We can't go anywhere.
Right.
Car behind us just starts laying on their horn like absolute nuts. Like, dude, they're collecting garbage. What the hell are we gonna do? We can't go anywhere, dude. You're not going anywhere.
Uh, yeah, that's the way I remember it from many moons ago.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So nothing's changed. I'm glad to see that it's not nearly as bad as it used to be in New York City. Of course, some of the laws that they implemented over time got rid of that problem. All right, let's move on. Boy, this was a disappointing game.
Anyways,
Clemson.
yeah.
17-14 losers to South Carolina. Second year in a row. And again, we talked about this and we keep talking about it. That team is moving forward and is effectively using transfer portal to build. And this is what happens. One team falls behind and one goes forward. And you may say, well, it was a lucky win. Well, no, maybe fortunate in some ways, but 17-14 final. Gamecocks over the Tigers.
So yeah, that one, if you're a Clemson fan, you're irritated right now.
Really? That's the word you'd use?
I mean, it didn't affect the fact that you're in the ACC championship game, but you should have won this game.
Oh, yeah.
The game was right there for you, at least to tie it and send it to overtime. But remember last week, I talked about, hey, there's an issue with Clemson's run defense. They allowed Lenore Sellers to just run all up, down, and all around him, and pretty much that was the reason they lost. That and that interception Kate Klubnik threw at the end of the game when they were in field goal range to potentially tie it. That one was, yeah. But I'll give them the positives though. And Tony Williams had 8 catches for 99 yards, and he had the most yards in he finished the regular season with 788 yards receiving, the most by a Clemson receiver in 4 years.
That's it's encouraging to see that you have a player doing that, but the fact that it's been 4 years.
Yeah, and it goes to show just kind of they just haven't not had a good receiver get developed, and Williams is probably the best one they've had, and even then, I think he's better than Amari Rogers was the one who was the last 1,000-yard receiver, and I think Williams has potential to be better than him.
Well, let's see if he hits the transfer portal.
Well, we'll see.
I hope he doesn't.
I don't think unless like somebody really drops the bag for him, I don't think so. But because I think he'll go into next season as like he'll be one of the top receivers in the league, I think.
Well, let's hope he stays. Duke with a 23-17 win over Wake Forest. One of those cross-state things that this score doesn't do anything it doesn't surprise me in the least. It's just I think Duke played basically to the level of their competition, and I can't say that Wake didn't give it a shot, but Duke is a much better team than Wake Forest and should have won by a greater number than this. So
this is that game is kind of why there's been a lack of respect for Duke. They've kind of gotten away with some of these wins. They've barely beaten some of the the opponents on their schedule, or like there was a UConn, I think it was they struggle with UConn. They actually struggle with NC Central for 3 quarters. They turned SMU over 6 times and still lost. And then in this case, in this game, you needed a 39-yard touchdown pass on the final play of the game to beat a team that finished the season 4-8. Um, and I'll get to I'll come back to that in just a minute. I mean, the defense still played. They had 5 sacks. And they actually Duke actually finished tied for first in the ACC in terms of number of sacks with Pitt. They had 40 sacks on the season. But Duke finished the season 9-3 and throw nobody in their right minds had Duke at 9-3 when the season began. We figured, Malik Murphy, nice piece. It's like they might get to a bowl. They won 9 games.
Yeah.
Whether they got by with luck or not, that is still an amazing. It's not just anywhere. It's Duke.
Duke. Right. So, it speaks volumes for.
He won't win Coach of the Year.
No.
Manny Diaz deserves, he deserves some major kudos, though.
Yeah. Yeah. He's done a great job, and he's taken a program where we've talked about this about Cutcliffe building foundation. He just didn't build the rest of the house, and sometimes that's the deal with coaching, is that you'll get a good foundation built, and it takes a lot to build that foundation. So I'm not disparaging David Cutcliffe, because David Cutcliffe is a hell of a coach, but sometimes you just reach the threshold of what you can do where you are. And that's what happened. So you move on. Manny Diaz is a builder of houses. And I think that's what he's doing. And we'll see, I think over the next, again, this is one of those 2-year things. Over the next 2 years, whether he's consistent in having those types of seasons, or if he falls into the same trap that most coaches at a school like Duke will fall into, or Stanford for that matter. You can be successful at those types of schools. Wake Forest is a classic example of that. Dave Clawson's a hell of a coach, and you can have a couple of down seasons. That's not a problem. And I think that's what Duke has. I think Duke has their Dave Clawson and Manny Diaz, and that's a compliment to both of them. And we'll see how that plays out over the next couple of years. Whether or not Manny decides that he wants to stick around at Duke and build that program and stick with it for numerous years, and become the Duke Coach Krzyzewski of football, or if he wants to take that success and parlay it into something that's more beneficial to he and his family. So let's go on to this Boston College game. Boston College, and here's another situation where a coach comes in, and you knew this guy is just so savvy. He knows what he's doing, and he's slowly building this program into what it can be. Then on the other side of the coin, we have Pat Narduzzi, who just a damn roller coaster every year with this team. And it's frustrating as crap to watch Pitt with the way that they play. It's like you never know what you're going to get from week to week. This week ended up a loss. Boston College 34, Pitt 23.
Yeah, you look at what a good coach does. He even when your starting quarterback decides to quit on the team, he realizes that the backup is probably better for the team anyway. So it's like, oh, I'm not gonna fight you. Let it, go. Be immature about it. Tony Grayson James is a lot better fit for what Bill O'Brien wants to do.
Definitely.
And it really showed at the end of the season. They ended up winning 3 out of 4 to finish the season. Even that one loss was to SMU, and they were competitive in that game.
Mm-hmm.
He finished with 253 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. Grayson James did, and he looked pretty good, I would say. Just to find, look solid, finish the season. They, like I said, they won 3 of 4, finished 7 of 5 on the season, and you're going to go to a bowl. I think where you end up with that, I don't think they were a super talented team. I think you will 100% take that if you're a Boston College fan. I mean, honestly, the current landscape, you should be happy any year you go to a bowl. So take it and treat it as a win. On the negative side, I mean, Pitt didn't have Des Reed in this game, and as I've been saying for some time, he is the offense for the most part. And they started 7-0 and finished the season losing 5 straight. Nate Yarnell did throw 3 touchdown passes. No Eli Holstein. I think he's done. I think he was done for the season. He wasn't going to play. He's been banged up, but Kanata Mumfield had a huge effort in this game. I know he had over 100 yards receiving. Somebody had to step up for this Pitt offense with Reed out and Mumfield, who's been around for a couple of years. He did in this game, but you know, Pitt, like I said, they started 7-0, fell off a cliff, finished 7-5, and like I say, I don't think anything's going to change. I just think like out of Pitt, I just think they're gonna have to evaluate now as we head into bowl season and into the off season. Okay, why did it fall off? I'm not gonna assume it's just because of injuries. I know they did have some, but not to fall off the way they did.
Not like that. No. That some, and I know if I've brought this up about questioning Pat Narduzzi, and I won't stop doing that. Be quite frank about it. I'm just watching what he has done for the past couple of years. I just, talk about him being all right, talked about Cutcliffe being a foundation builder. I think Narduzzi was a foundation builder, but I don't think he can finish the house. I do not believe for 1 minute that he has the ability or the foresight to find the right people and to recruit the right people and to rub elbows with the right people, because that's what you have to do anymore, to bring Pitt past this Midland. They're just Midland. And why, people, God, you read stuff and about, nobody's going to show up for a Pitt home game, blah, blah, blah. And, well, why the hell should they? I mean, what's exciting about Pitt football? It's like 1 week you're on and 1 week you're off. So I go out and I go to the one game where you're on. I get pumped up. I'm excited, and I'm going like, yeah, man, I'm behind this team. I go next week, and you absolutely suck it, and it's like, God, it's like that every damn year. I've used damn more in this show than I have in any other show, and it's end of the year. And I'll be damned if anybody's going to stop me from using the word damn.
Damn.
Damn. I just think that people say, well, you can't buy out Pat Narduzzi. He's got a big contract. All right. Don't you have an AD who's got some idea of how to rub elbows with your sponsors, your alumni, and the people who have got the bucks to raise enough to move on and get something in there? Folks, I reiterate this millions of times over and over. College sports is a business. It's a business. Start treating it like that, and you'll be more successful. If you don't treat it like that, you are going to be a failure, and you'll have idiots like me on a podcast talking about how Pat Narduzzi is not capable of building a house and needs to go. Prove me wrong.
Two things. Number one, their athletic director's been on the job a month, so I
Well,
think
get on the stick.
we'll give. I mean, he may, he probably doesn't have like a fair. I mean, all of his games with Narduzzi are negative basically because they haven't won since he's taken tenure and two. We're going to be speaking similarly about another team in the ACC later.
Yep, indeed we are. All right, let's move on to SMU and Cal. Cal did not do well in this game. SMU is just getting better and better. So they have been fine tuning, and that's why they belong where they are in the ACC Football Championship game in Charlotte on this weekend. As a matter of fact, SMU 38, Cal 6.
So on the Cal side, I'm gonna start there first. No Fernando Mendoza in this game. He was out with an injury. Chandler Rogers started, but he also left with an injury.
Hmm,
But hey, Cal, you're still going to a bowl in your first season in the
that's
ACC.
right.
Congratulations. You're looking forward to seeing what happens. And the fact that they got there with Jade not being a shell of himself basically because of injuries, I think that's still an impressive feat.
Yes.
Now for SMU. I've said this on both Twitter, Blue Sky, and I'll say it here again. Kevin Jennings should be ACC Player of the Year. The reason I say that, and then I apologize in advance, my dog is barking in the background because I believe I have a delivery here.
Christmas.
Yes, but the fact that SMU, their whole trajectory changed when he was put in as starting quarterback. You remember when Preston Stone was starting? They barely beat Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to BYU, which, like I said, that one has actually aged quite well over time as they're playing the Big 12 title game. But they put in Kevin Jennings the next week, scored 66 points against TCU, and haven't looked back.
That's right.
And his stats don't wow you, especially compared to Cam Ward, who I think will win ACC Player of the Year. But the backup Miami is still going to win you eight. They're probably still going to win 8 games because of all the talent they had around them, in the backfield and wide receiver. I think SMU probably is a 7-win team of Preston Stone this year, the way they were playing. Like I just and I'm just looking at this more of a like an MVP type. And people, can there's no right or wrong way to determine who the player of the year is, but I just feel like Kevin Jennings is more deserving of it because of SMU's trajectory when he came in.
When you start getting to a point where you have 17 teams,
Hmm.
18, and in other sports, I think you really need to start reconfiguring how you do your player of the year and your
Hmm.
you know I think you really need to now, and everybody will argue, well, we already do first team, second team, third team, but yet even in the past we overlooked people, and some great players were left off or relegated to third team when they should have been first team. um, I think there needs just to be a different way of doing this so that you can give the recognition to a grouping of people. Like you can say your top 5 quarterbacks, your top 5 running backs, and then
Yeah.
you can have your teams however you want to configure it. There's some very creative minds out there, and when it comes to sports and doing brackets and everything else, and you know heads are really into it, they could certainly come up with something far more creative than the old school way of doing things. And that way people are getting recognition, and people will say, well, that's just giving a trophy to everybody. No, it's not. It's not. If we were doing that, we'd literally, just say, well, all 17 teams, all 17 quarterbacks are going to, if they reach a certain threshold, will get, quarterback of the year honors. And, everybody else after that will get a participation trophy. But that's not how it's done.
Yeah. And I'm just going to say for the record, I don't have an issue with Cam Ward winning ACC Player of the Year if that's the case. I'm just saying who I would vote for.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I mean, I just think that you need to recognize there's an awful lot of people that deserve the recognition, and have had phenomenal years doing things, and that includes coaches, and it's just got to be a better way to do this than the way that we're doing it now. We have what is it, tiered voting, basically, where you vote for who you want to be first, second, third, fourth, and all that kind of stuff. Well, you can do it in that fashion as well. I don't know. There's all kinds of different ways of doing it. Let's get into this next game. And golly, Ned, speaking of another quarterback that deserves recognition, and a team that I am thrilled for Syracuse for the performance of their first-year coach. I'm really disappointed in Miami. Syracuse coming out with a 42-38 win here. If Miami was worthy of the position that they held, in the rankings going into this, this game would have never been close, and Syracuse basically ate them alive. Their defense is porous as hell.
So Miami got up in this game 21-0 in the second quarter, and you're thinking, oh, Miami's leaving no doubt. They're locking up a spot in the college football playoff, no matter what happens in the ACC championship game.
Yep.
Yeah, except Syracuse in the second and third quarters outscored them 35-7.
Unreal.
Just
unreal.
Came back and took the lead and then went a little back and forth, and there was that fumble return touchdown that kind of gave Syracuse the lead, and then Miami went and tied it up, and then Syracuse took the lead again. And then with 4 minutes to go on 4th and goal, Mario Cristobal decides he's going to kick a field goal to cut the lead to 3. And then Miami never got the football back because Syracuse was able to get the first downs they needed to drain the clock. That was a very head-scratching decision, and especially when Kyle McCord torched your secondary. I mean, he went for 380 yards, 3 touchdowns, led the nation in regular season play with 4,326 yards. That is an impressive season. I mean, he was as advertised for Syracuse. And I remember we talked before the season with Emily Liker, who's now up here covering the Vikings for me, in the Star Tribune, I should say. He's up here in Minneapolis or whatever. And we talked about how just the move from Columbus, Ohio to Syracuse, New York is probably a better fit for him. You know what? Ohio State probably could have used Kyle McCord on Saturday. Just saying. Anyways, so a couple of other players to highlight for Syracuse. Jackson Meeks, 7 catches, 110 yards. Trevor Pena, 6 catches, 128 yards. Syracuse actually finished this regular season with 4 players with 60 or more receptions, which is, they threw the ball a lot, and they didn't have a lot of injuries at receiver. It shows you just where things were. In a losing effort, Cam Ward, 349 yards, 2 touchdowns. Xavier Sharpo, 9 catches, 148 yards. And Jacoby George, 6 catches, 121 yards. I mean, I I'm very curious to see where Miami gets put in the next playoff rankings that will be released on Tuesday. I think more likely than not that this loss knocks them out, but they're going to be like right there. If they make it, they're probably going to be the last team in. And it all depends as well on how the championships play out.
Yep. Our next game, bye-bye Mac Brown. NC State pulls off a 35-30 win over the Tar Heels. Not the most glorious way to end the season for Mac Brown or for Dave Doran, for that matter.
Yeah. Saturday was all about planting flags and getting in fights, apparently. And we saw that at the end of the Ohio State-Michigan game, saw at the end of this game. And the ACC fined them and give them the slap on the wrist. And I when I saw that, I quoted it with the line from Major League of Lou Brown saying, "Don't ever do it again." That's basically what the reprimand is, and I think it's kind of pointless personally. But despite that, that was still a fun game, though. It was very back and forth. It's exactly what you want in a rivalry game. It comes down to the very end. Um, NC State ended up scoring 22 points in the fourth quarter to win. It was capped off by a touchdown run by Hollywood Smothers with 25 seconds left. NC State ran for 220 yards in this game, and that's a team all season that has struggled to run the football. And when they needed to in this game, they finally did. And they actually ran for over 200 yards in 3 of the final 4 games, which we talked about how this team has struggled to run a ball, and they did a great job, and it's part of the reason they are where they are. Amari and Hampton, 100 in a losing effort, 185 yards, finished with 1,660 yards on the season, second in the nation behind one Ashton Genty, who is setting records at Boise State. And you mentioned this is Mac Brown. This was Mac Brown's last game. He was like, "Go, Freddie Kitchens is going to coach the bowl, and then we'll see what the new staff does." Uh, and the big piece of news out of NC State is Casey Concepcion, somebody who had a very good freshman campaign, struggled this year. He is in the transfer portal, and somebody's going to get a very, very good weapon at their disposal.
Amari and Hampton, watching him run and for one particular touchdown where just unreal player. And I know that NFL doesn't put as much running backs and stuff like that are not as valuable as they used to be, but man, you get a guy like that, I would be running him on all kinds of plays. He's just flat out crazy speed.
You have an elite running back. There's no problem running, using him. I mean, if you have your Aston Genties, you have your Amari and Hamptons, and you don't see it a lot in the NFL anymore.
Oh, it's a shame.
A lot of timeshares, except for Derrick Henry still at his, still bowling everybody over but there aren't very many who you can count on to touch the ball 20 times. Maybe I think Joe Mixon in Houston, but you don't see those very much in the NFL anymore.
Yeah.
It's a lot of timeshares. You might see one running back get 18 touches, whether it be 15 carries, 3 catches, and then the other guy might get 8 or 9 8 or 9 touches. So it's not like this guy had 27 rushes for 115 yards. It's he probably had 18 carries for 67 yards.
It's not like it used to be.
Yep. No workhorse, no Barry Sanders anymore, or Emmitt Smiths.
Nope. Florida plowed Florida State. hate to see this just because of the rivalry aspect, and it's an SEC team, 31-11 final there.
Yeah, so as far as that, I mean, as far as the game goes, yeah, there were nothing. I mean, we kind of expected that to happen. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Florida, despite its pretty, you know, pretty gaudy schedules going bowling and ended up pretty much saved Billy Napier his job. But as far as the Knowles go, they only had 239 total yards in this game. I think it was asking a lot for there to be a big change. They did have zero penalties on this game. Yay for that. And but they did allow 8 sacks. But a lot, we know they fired their coordinators, a couple weeks ago, and we knew the time was coming for them to hire new coordinators. And then over the weekend and into today, actually, as we record on Monday, we know the names of both of them. Gus Malzahn resigned as head coach of Central Florida to take on the role of offensive coordinator at Florida State. And then it came out on Monday that Nebraska's defensive coordinator, Tony White, is going to be the new Florida State defensive coordinator. Um, so I think they did really well with those hires. It's just a matter of can they get the talent to, get the talent molded. I mean,
Yeah.
I think they're both pretty good. I mean, I mean, I know Nebraska's had a pretty good defense. Their defense isn't quite to the talent level that Florida State's is. But he still did good things, and we know Gus Malzahn is a good offensive coordinator, questionable as a head coach. But I think the key thing is what are they going to do with the quarterback? Because I feel like if 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 Kromenhoek has a chance to go into next fall as a starter, then I think he could do good things. But I also think they're going to dip into the portal for a quarterback to at least compete, if not start next season. So
Yeah.
it'd be very interested to see what the off season's like there.
Commonwealth Clash, the Commonwealth Cup goes to the Hokies once again, 37-17 with a big win over Virginia.
19th time in 20 years. You didn't really think anything was going to change, did you?
Well, not this year. I didn't. So,
And
mm,
I said this after the game on, again, both on Twitter and Blue Sky at Will's World MN. Nothing kind of summarizes the past 20 years of this rivalry quite like Virginia Tech whipping Virginia's ass with a third string quarterback.
who happened to be good, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that was Virginia's defense made him look good or Pop Watson is good. I mean,
I think Pop Watson is
I
good.
think he looked, I mean, low key, he did look good, but that was his first career start. And yeah, I do think he definitely has talent. I think his ability to make plays on the run. He had a couple of nice runs and he had a couple of nice throws on the run. I think that was cool. He threw for 254 yards in this game. Bashal Tootin 124 yards, 2 touchdowns. They sacked Tony Muskett 5 times. Yeah, Muskett was starting in this game. Anthony Calandria was benched and has subsequently entered the transfer portal. Who's only get 274 yards of offense in this game, and the Virginia offense had less than 400 yards of offense in 5 of the final 6 games. And as of recording on Monday, nothing has changed. And I think Tuesday, I know Tuesday could be the day they make it because a lot of the time, the coach will speak to the media on Tuesday. If Virginia keeps the status quo, what the hell's the point of even caring if you're a Virginia fan in 2025? And the offenses Virginia has put out in this regime, 2022 ranked 103rd nationally, 2023 78th nationally, and this year 94th nationally. You think that's not acceptable, folks? And here's the situation they're in. Okay, let's just say Tony Elliott does stick around for 2025 and changes the offensive staff. He's going to be on the hot seat. And quite frankly, with all the turnover of this roster, because there's their starting quarterback for next season isn't on the roster right now. Who's going to want to walk into a dead man walking situation? Like, I,
Good
the,
question.
and this is where, I don't know what the answer is. Like, with the way the last few games and the way he has spoken, like, and kind of lied about the situation, in the SMU game. Like I said, I'm done with Tony Elliott. I don't think he is the guy. I don't think he's a very good head coach. Um, I just it just isn't working, and I see no way for it to improve. Like, this offense is bad. It's been bad. It was 78th last year, basically because Malik Washington did everything, and you got him drafted. But what and Anthony Colangelo completely regressed this season, and now
But
he's
he
gone. And some of
did.
that I think was scheme, and some of that was him. But if you're Virginia, you've got to completely reset this offensive staff, because nobody is going to want to care next year if you're just going to bring back the status quo. Like, I, it's not, it's been 3 years of bad offenses coming off a historic one, and you're giving the fans no reason to care. I go back to Major League a moment ago. In the beginning of the first movie, when Cleveland's taking the field and there's just like a smattering of fans, that's going to be Virginia football in 2025. Like, if they kept the status quo, the only people that are going to show up to the games are the people if you poke a needle in them and the blood comes out orange and blue. Those are the only people that are going to show up to games next year.
Moms and dads. Yeah. I know a lot of people are calling for Carla Williams' head too. So that that would tell me something that
Yeah.
something needs to happen. So we'll see what happens. You're right. I think Tuesday we'll probably hear something. We thought that maybe we'd hear something today, and we were going to record on Sunday, but we recorded on Monday instead in anticipation. There's been some stuff transpiring in the ACC, the FSU coordinators and whatnot locked in, and but we were also kind of anticipating something to happen with Virginia, but didn't. We'll see tomorrow. Keep an eye on that. Let you know as soon as it does. ACC championship game. Clemson takes on SMU. It's at 8:00 ABC. And if you're going to Charlotte, I will just tell you, it's going to be a wild ride. Should be a lot of fun. Now, real quickly, because we're running a little short on time here. Here are the bowls projected by USA Today Sports. Is probably going to change because that's just the way it happens, but this is pretty close to the way things usually work out. The LA Bowl is December 18th, and that's UNLV taking on Cal. Game Above Sports Bowl, December 26th, UNC in Ohio. Birmingham Bowl, December 27th, Georgia Tech and Florida. Holiday Bowl, December 27th, Clemson and Washington State. This is assuming, obviously, that Clemson does not win the ACC championship game. Fenway Bowl, December 28th, Virginia Tech and Memphis. The Pinstripe Bowl, December 28th, Pitt and Nebraska. Pop-Tarts Bowl, the 28th, Miami and BYU. That actually will be an interesting matchup. Military Bowl, December 28th, Boston College and Army. The Sun Bowl, December 31st, Syracuse and Washington. The Gator Bowl, January 2nd, Louisville. And who did I put down there? Missouri. Okay, and this is where my writing gets really bad. First Responder Bowl, January 3rd. That would be North Carolina and West Virginia. I think that's what we got. Duke's Mayo Bowl, January 3rd, Duke and Minnesota. Well, Duke's Mayo Bowl. How about that?
Duke in a bowl game sponsored by Dukes. God, I can only imagine the thought of PJ Fleck getting mayo dumped on him. Row the mayo boat, baby.
That's right. Peach Bowl, January 1st, Ohio State, SMU. The Orange Bowl, January 9th, Notre Dame and Oregon. So that's the way they're projecting things out. Remains to be seen. We'll find out here before long after the championship game when the invitations start going out after all the conference championships are taken care of. Make sure that you follow us on social media. If you're going to Blue Sky, which is where we're predominantly at these days, I've noticed that there's been a heavy drop-off, not only for our site on X, but for everybody's. People are departing. So come join us at Blue Sky. We're at ACC Nation Net, ACCNation.bsky.social. So Blue Sky, it's ACCNation.net. Come on over there. We're also on Threads, and we're over in Reddit. We're on Facebook. We are still on X for the time being, and multiple other things as well. So,
real quick before we go, just a thing for basketball, both on the men's and women's side. ACC SEC challenges this week, and on the men's side, conference play starts Saturday. So,
yeah, baby, gonna be keeping an eye on that. All right. Until next time, and it's going to be pretty much all basketball here on out, folks. And just as a quick reminder, there is some basketball interviews with Ken Cross on streaming, ACC Nation streaming radio. You just simply go to our site at accnation.net, click on the link there, and you'll find not only Ken, but you'll find Jeff and Matthew from All Sports Discussion are there, along with Will and myself from ACC Nation. We're on ACC Nation Radio, and that is a 24/7 and available worldwide. And we're finding that it's very big for you folks in Germany, among other places. So thank you for joining us. Until next time, cheers.
School.
Thanks for listening to ACC Nation. Be sure to listen, like and subscribe to our podcast, radio, and YouTube channels by visiting accnation.net. Follow us on Instagram, X, Facebook, Mastodon, Threads, Blue Sky and Reddit at ACC Nation.
ACC Nation.